This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. I want to just say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen today. Remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate that from you in advance. And also, we are free and available on Amazon Fire and Roku. So if you want to check out these mugs on the big screen, go ahead and do that and download that Locked On Sports Atlanta app today. This episode of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by Bet Online. And now, I know I mentioned that this is ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. I'm Jarvis, but that is most certainly not Tenitra Batiste over there. That is Aaron Freeman. He is the most humble host, the most non-sarcastic host. That's, the most optimistic person when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons. He is the Locked On Falcons host. He is a part of the family. So, yeah, he's not necessarily a guest, but he will be sitting in for the illustrious Tenitra Batiste today as we get ready to talk, kind of recap this Falcons game. And I think that the first thing that we're going to definitely get into is the fact that, after digesting this game, I'm starting to feel a little differently about the game. I'm starting to look at a couple of different aspects of this game. And then in our deep dive, we're going to talk about Marcus Mariota and how he has been so willing to admit his faults. Does that make him hard to access when you try to figure out what he brings to the table for the Atlanta Falcons? And last but not least, and for the culture, I cannot wait to get Aaron's response to this video that we're going to drop on y'all. So make sure you stick around for that. But first, the Falcons lose 20-17 at Mercedes Benz Stadium on a last-second field goal. Aaron, and I started, and as I was watching the Sunday night football game with the Tennessee Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs, I saw Malik Willis starting to get some burn because Ryan Tannehill is hurt. So yeah, hey, he's the backup quarterback. So yeah, he's going to play. And I started to think about the game, and one of the things that I think that we didn't really get a chance to talk about in the Locked On Falcons postcast, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I think that a lot of people talked about how there was no pass rush and there was no sense of urgency from Justin Herbert because he was so comfortable in the pocket. But I think that you got to give the credit to the San Diego Chargers offensive line as well when you start thinking about why they weren't able to get to Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I think we know the Falcons don't have a pass rush, right?
Right.
It's basically
that's fair.
It's Grady Jarrett and everybody else, right?
Right.
And if you can keep Grady Jarrett in check, then you're probably going to be able to keep everybody else in check. And yeah, I think the Chargers offensive line deserves credit. Right. They were able to keep Grady Jarrett in check, and therefore they were able to keep everybody else pretty much in check. And yesterday's game came down to the final possession as I kind of thought it would, as basically every Falcon game except for like one or two has come down to it. And you just kind of hoped that you were in a situation, if you're the Falcons, that you had the football and needed to go down the field and win the game rather than Justin Herbert having a football and needing to go down and win the game. And I think ultimately he went down the field and won the game. And then they didn't win the game because Taquan Graham made the play.
That still hit the same. I don't know about you, but that still hit the same for me. I was like, man, how did you fumble that ball, dog?
Yeah, I was joking on Twitter on Monday morning. It's I'm not even mad at that play. It's just funny to me that that he just fumbled the football. I know when they do Come On Man on Monday Night Football or whatever, that will definitely be one of the top spots for that one. So sitting on this game for another couple of hours, it's disappointing the Falcons lost, but I don't think I really look at this team based off of their wins and their losses. I tend to try not to get too high after the wins and try not to get too low after the losses, and rather than focusing on their win-loss record and their ability to make the playoffs, I'm trying to judge them based off of other factors. If they make the playoffs, great, awesome. No one's going to complain about it here. not on our very optimistic Locked On Falcons podcast, which we, every day we're singing the praises of the Falcons.
It's bright and shiny. It's bright and shiny every day on that podcast. I'm sure
every single day. But yeah, I'm trying to look at the season more as like, okay, what progress do they show? Like, basically, if they, go 8-9 or whatever and lose and miss the playoffs, but if this offense evolves between now and then, like, I will count that as a win in my book, even if it doesn't necessarily lead to the team playing in January. And if we're playing in January and there's still kind of this one-dimensional offense, like, awesome, great, they're playing in the postseason, but like, that to me is not as positive a development for them moving forward. So I feel like this offense is trying to get better. We saw a little bit more passing in situations from Marcus Mariota. It didn't quite work out against the Chargers, but I feel like there's, if that Mariota Pitts connection can, sort of start to mesh a little bit more, you'll start to see this offense, I'm not going to say cook, but like just be a little bit better version than what they currently are.
George Foreman, maybe? Not necessarily. George Foreman, like,
I don't know, like, if the kids in the audience
know what
we're referencing there, Jarvis. This isn't
not sous chef, not like hibachi chef. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta go something like low grade, like it's convenient. You know what I'm saying? Like George Foreman. Like Mariota can't cook, but he might be able to George Foreman. That might be able to something he might be able to do. But I think you make a great point though, because here's the thing, man. I know a lot of people were when the Falcons decided to draft Tyler Algier, and a lot of people had questions, right? And I when they drafted him, I went and started looking at some things. I talked to some people that scouted the guy and everything, and I started to hear a lot of good things. And then in the preseason, I saw some good things. I saw some good traits, and I think that I started to get a little bit more excited about Tyler Algier than most. But I think that once he was not active, I think that's when a lot of questions came into place, and a lot of people started questioning, like, why did you draft this dude if he's not even going to be on the active roster on the start of the season? And I think that yesterday we saw what the Falcons saw in him when they drafted him in the 2022 NFL draft. So that's what those are the type of things that I think that, I'm with you when you're talking about building and evolving and how and what this offense looks like going forward, because let's just face it, I love Cordell Patterson to death, but he ain't got no 2-3 more years in the NFL as far as from a peak performance standpoint. He doesn't have that. I don't think he has that. He may have 1 or 2, maybe, potentially, and that's why they signed him to the type of contract that they did. So I think you're talking about guys that you want to be able to have for the future. And let's face it, in the 5th round that they drafted him, that's value, man. When you can be able to get that type of production from those rounds, I think that's something that definitely keep an eye on. And like you said, you have to look at what this offense is and how it's going to evolve instead of just looking at the end result. I know the end result matters to a lot of folks, but I think that at the end of the day, you want to see what Arthur Smith is working with. And I think that from a coaching standpoint, that's a department that I'm not necessarily worried about going forward. We'll talk about the execution standpoint about Marcus Mariota, Kyle Pitts, and Mariota just being very honest after the game on Sunday against the Los Angeles Chargers. But I have to talk about betonline.net because it is the easiest and the fastest way to check in on all your betting needs. You find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. I know a lot of people are concerned or didn't know whether or not to put some money on the Georgia Bulldogs against the Tennessee Volunteers. Why? All you had to do is just come down to Locked On Sports Atlanta, and we would have told you exactly what you need to know. But guess what? If you wanted to win some money, you need to go to betonline.net because they have all the reviews and news of every league, not only college football, but they have Major League Baseball and the World Series. Did you win some money off the World Series? The Astros had won that thing. What, it was $75 million? That rich dude, Mattress Mac, $75 million. Wow. I wish I would have got in on that, put in on something like that. But anyway, NFL, NBA, NHL, they even have combat sports, esports, and even golf. So there's no excuse for you not to go down to betonline.net because guess what? You can go pull it up on your mobile device and learn more about the action happening today because BetOnline is where the game starts. Now, Aaron, when Arthur Smith brought in Marcus Mariota, we knew that a lot of people assumed that he would be that bridge quarterback, and he would be the guy that kind of usher in the new Arthur Smith regime instead of going with a young quarterback and struggling. And they're trying to win some games. Terry Fontenot is trying to prove that, hey, he belongs as a general manager in this league. I know you don't believe that right now, but I know you're not quite on that bandwagon, but I'm standing on the street trying to hitch a ride. You know what I'm saying, to the bandwagon. Okay. I haven't jumped on it yet, but I'm standing on the street.
Okay.
I gotta mess with you now. You coming to the ATL Day Ones, I gotta get up. I gotta mess with you, my man. So Terry Fontenot has a lot to prove, included to Aaron Freeman as well, the Falcons man, the Falcons fan. You know what I'm saying? So I think those are some of the things that he thought about when they brought Marcus Mariota in. But after the game on Sunday, I thought Marcus was he was very truthful as far as in his answer. And he was being asked about how the game went and everything. He said, I have to hit my guys. I have to find my guys. But he said Kyle Pitts and Drake London were getting open, and he has to figure out a way to get them the football. And I think that was kind of interesting, right? Because I will never sit up here and act like I'm a Marcus Mariota fan, right? Or stan. I'm nowhere near those guys. But I always try to assess Marcus Mariota fairly and call him for what he is. And we talked about it on your show as well. But do you think that it can kind of get a little gray area sometimes when it comes to assessing when he's so truthful and how he plays the football game on Sundays?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the thing that everybody says about Marcus Mariota is he's such a good guy, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
And like anytime there's been a mistake on the Falcons, he has taken ownership of that, and you want that in a leader, and I think that's a big reason why Arthur Smith is comfortable rolling with him, even as a so-called bridge quarterback. I know there's some people that don't agree with that assessment, but like I think for us, it's like, oh, he's a bridge quarterback, but maybe the bridge is a little longer than we initially thought it would be, right? Yeah. And maybe that bridge leads us, to a wild card or a division crown this year. So I look at Marcus Mariota admitting his mistakes as a an indicator of sort of all those sort of intangible qualities that he brings to this football team, more so than the tangible qualities that we're seeing on the football field. Like, you and I have talked about it a ton this year. Like, we don't have high expectations for Marcus Mariota to go out there and, throw the ball 35 times and win with his arm or anything like that. We expect there are going to be missed throws in games that you're going to be like, man, if he could just hit this throw, everything would have been great. And then there's going to be plays that Marcus Mariota can only make, right? Like that one play he had to Tyler Algier, I think in the fourth quarter, I think it was, where he kind of ran around like multiple times. And then
I was like, throw the ball away. And he missed the guy. He made the guy miss, circle back out and threw the ball, lofted it to Tyler Algier. And he went down, for 40 some odd yards, like on the reception. So
like those are the things that Marcus Mariota
you don't draw that type of stuff up. Yeah.
So like when he does stuff like that, I'm like, okay, that's the good version of Marcus Mariota.
Right.
And it's like if we can get more of that and less of the guy that's missing open receivers down the field, like there's not a whole lot to complain about, because you're not, at the end of the day, you're not being like, oh man, Marcus Mariota doesn't throw with peak efficiency and timing on these 7-yard slants or whatever. Like, that's not what you bring Marcus Mariota in to do. Right. You bring him in because the ability that he has with the run game, the ability, hopefully he can start hitting some of these deep balls so we can get these shot plays. And then the ability that he has extending plays and finding open receivers down the field and and handing the football off and having that leadership that we're talking about. And I think those are the things that Mariota brings to the table. So I look at his play on Sunday against the Chargers as like, it's kind of a typical Mariota game. It's the Mariota coaster. You got the highs, you got the lows. You're just going to ride this thing, and we'll see how long the Falcons continue to ride this thing and how far they get.
And that's a thing that Arthur Smith talks about in his post-game presser as well, just far as how, as a team, that's how they look. like it kind of up and down. I always joke about being, the stock market, because sometimes you never know what you're going to get. Like one day it's going to be up, one day it's going to be down. And like you even look at how it was so up in the first, then down in the second. And then it kind of started to creep back up in the third. And then it started to gradually rise in the fourth as well. And then it just dropped right back down in the fourth quarter. So those are some of the things that I believe a lot of times is why it's so important for the type of guy that you have, under center, is that a lot of times, I always talk about how the head coach, the team takes on the identity of the head coach. Teams take on the identity of their quarterback as well. So I think that never say die, never quit attitude, that's Marcus Mariota. I believe that speaks to him. But there are some times where you're gonna have some, or what that play. I always say, like, what was that? Like that's just who he is. That's the type of guy he is. That's why I think sometimes for me in covering this guy, it may be a little hard sometimes to kind of be extra critical of him, but you have to do what you have to do when it comes to what I see. I have to do what I have to do when it comes to what I see. So I think a lot of people have to kind of continue to look at Marcus Mariota for what he is, and I think that on Sundays you won't be too upset when they lose games like this, because guess what? They're going to win games like this, and literally just happened the week prior in Mercedes Benz against the Carolina Panthers, which is a team that they're going to have to face this Thursday coming up. And that quick turnaround, real quick before we move on, some quick thoughts as far as what you're thinking about as far as for the Carolina Panthers, because they just fired two position coaches, or the cornerbacks coach and the defensive line coach. Steve Wilks is trying to put a stamp on his team. Do you think this team is going to be looking to bounce back after getting embarrassed by the Cincinnati Bengals?
Yeah, I expect the Panthers to play much better than they did against Cincinnati. Again, similar to the Falcons, like they're just not built to play with a team like Cincinnati.
Absolutely.
And the Falcons and Panthers are a pretty even match, right? Like you don't have high-level quarterback play, what we're talking about with Mariota, as well as PJ Walker. I know Sam Darnold's coming off of IR, but I don't assume that he'll start this week. They'll give him at least another week and let him come back after the mini bye, after the Thursday night game.
Damn sure don't like it gonna be Baker. It's like Steve Wilks don't like Baker Mayfield.
they kept showing pictures of Baker Mayfield in the fourth quarter, just being sad on the bench on television yesterday in that Bengals game, and I was just like, okay, like just upset, just anger, just staring off in the distance. So.
He said something to Steve Wilks, I promise. Or Steve Wilks is real cool with Hugh Jackson. He was like, yeah, Mother Blakey, you remember all that junk you were talking about Hugh? That's my boy. That's my dog. You about to feel this right now.
Yeah. So, I think the Panthers-Falcons is going to be an even matchup. It's going to be just like the game was 2 weeks ago, where it's going to come down to the final possession, and you just hope, their kicker screws up like he did last time, and, the Falcons can make a couple of plays. And Taquan Graham will hold on to the football when he recovers the loose fumble.
Absolutely, TQ, man. I'm with Taquan Graham, man. I'm with Arthur Smith. I was like, man, I can't really criticize that dude, man. It ain't like this man is Khalil Mack or somebody. Just go out there and just take the ball from somebody and just go the other way with it like ain't nothing happened. But it happens. We shall see. When the Falcons take on the Atlanta. They're not going to take on themselves. Carolina Panthers on Thursday night on the road. They are a 3-point favorite if you're in that type of stuff. But we want to say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Why don't you go ahead and make Locked On Sports Today your second listen of the day? They have a lot of good stuff going on, and you're talking about from experts just going around the sports world, and they even have the take of the day. You can see who has the hottest take of the day and who has the best information. So go ahead and check out Locked On Sports Today. It is free and available wherever you download your podcast, wherever you download this podcast. Go out and check out Locked On Sports Today. Now, Aaron, this is for the culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture, and sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down on this show. Today is no different. Aaron, when I came across this video, I thought about you, man. And I just want to kind of get your initial reaction, then kind of have a little conversation about this particular piece.
Yeah.
You like that?
Oh man, Kirk Cousins with his shirt off, with some little nerdy looking. Like I work at I'm a salesman I sell vacuum cleaners door to door type glasses on, with all them doggone chains around his neck, man. Like I don't know about you, Aaron, but like I could not stop laughing watching Kirk Cousins do whatever he was doing. I don't know if that's how the rappers do the whole thing, showing the icing and everything. Like I don't know if that was what he was trying to do, but I'm just say this: the attempt was a little weak sauce, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Michigan State to Washington to Minnesota, not exactly places known for swagging. I won't diss DC like that, but not the swaggiest places on the planet, at least as far as their reputation goes.
Yeah, man. I think that was one of the things that Kirk is one of the guys that I think has always kind of gotten a bad rap, because people, look at him for what he is. And his salaries over the years haven't necessarily gone in line with that for the most part, because he made a decision to say, quote unquote, bet on himself. And he took a lot of 1-year deals and it ends up working out for him. And I think that the Minnesota Vikings, though, that might be a team that might need to start paying attention to, because, like you said, if he doesn't Kirk in games, they look like a pretty good squad.
Yeah, it's funny. The NFC, it's like Philadelphia and the Vikings are have the second best record, but like you don't feel great about that Vikings team because, in part, due to Kirk Cousins and his history of playing in primetime outside of facing the Saints in the postseason, you don't really feel great about riding with Kirk late in the season. And so part of you sits here and goes like, yeah, like, if Dak is playing well at the end of the season, the Cowboys probably could make a case for being the second best team in the NFC. Seattle, like Geno's balling,
Right. Yeah.
And so like I look at the Vikings as like a team, like they're good, but like I don't know if they're that good. Like I don't know if they've really separated themselves from the pack, and I think some of that is owed to the lack of confidence I have in Kirk at this point. Like he's a competent quarterback, like he's proven that over basically a decade now in the league, but I don't know if he's the guy that I want to put my hopes and dreams on winning me a game in January. And that video didn't really do him any favors in my eyes.
Absolutely not, because I mean I know it's cool for, see white guys try to, be swaggy. But, for certain dudes, I'm cool. Like, I would never want to see a guy like Tom Brady do something like this, Peyton Manning. Like, it's certain guys, I know those guys are really good quarterbacks. I'm not putting Kirk in that particular category, but those are the type of white guys that I just don't care. Now, give me Jason Williams used to play for the Sacramento Kings back in the day. Yeah, that kind of flows, right? You see how that works? Travis Kelce. Yeah, that flows. It works. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be too shocked behind that. But Kirk Cousins, yeah, I'm kind of cool on that, man. But what you got coming up on Locked On Falcons this week, man?
Yeah, we got some great guests coming on. Scott Bear of AtlantaFalcons.com. Of course, we'll be previewing that Thursday night game with Locked On Panthers, Julian Council, later in the week. And maybe Jarvis, you'll be making an appearance. I don't know, at the end of the week or something. I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Come on, man. I'm always down to come on to Lock On Falcons now. Like, you bring the pessimism out of me, man. Why not? Why would I not want to come on that show? I'm so optimistic all the time.
It's a safe space for you to express your negativity towards the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah.
I need that sometimes, man, because sometimes I get tired of being optimistic about this damn team, man. Man, we just keep it real. That's what we're all about right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. We want to thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen today. Make sure you check out Locked On Sports today as your second listen. And Also, we just want to say thank you guys for almost giving us up to 5,000 subscribers. We're at 4,700, almost 4,800 subscribers. If you have not subscribed to us, what the hell are you waiting on? Like, don't you want to be a part of the cool kids? So, yes, go ahead and do that. And also, make sure you download us wherever you get your podcast. We're free and available there as well. We want to say thank you guys for continuing to rock with us. And coming up tomorrow, we'll dive into the Hawks. We'll talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. Hopefully the Hawks get a win against the Milwaukee Bucks. And we'll do a deeper dive into what really went down in Athens on Saturday. And make sure we'll keep an eye on what's going on with Dansby Swanson. I think he's gone, but we'll discuss. So don't go anywhere. We want to thank you guys for rocking with us. And make sure y'all come back tomorrow now, you hear?